What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcast where you can get your takes from a washed-up D3 cornerback. I'm your host, Grayson Jenkins, joined by my good friends Ty McGee and Hammer. And in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down our top 5 edges for the NFL draft. This is a really good class. It'll be a fun discussion. And at the end of our rankings and breaking down the players, we're going to give a quick overview and recap of some of the big free agency moves from the last few days. Anyways, getting right into the class, we'll give our lists first, and then we'll break down the players afterwards because our lists are going to be a little bit different. I'll let you go first, Hammer. Who do you got in your top 5?
All right, here we go. Top 5 from Hammer. Number 5, we got Landon Jackson. Number 4, we got Donovan Ezeiruaku. Number 3, we got Mykel. Oh, shit. What is it?
Mykel Williams. Mykel, whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Mykel Williams. Yeah. I saw it and I was like, wait, how do I?
You saw that, but not
Pearce
Ezeiruaku,
Jr.
and you struggled with Mykel.
I've been saying Ezeiruaku in my sleep. He's a Packer. And number 1, we got Abdul Carter.
All right, got you. All right, Ty, what do you got?
Yeah, so I got at number 5, I got Jalon Walker. At number 4, I got Shemar Stewart. At number 3, I got Mykel Williams. At 2, I got James Pearce. And 1, I got Abdul Carter.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind. Both of you guys don't have one of my top players on your list, but I got number 5. I got Shemar Stewart. 4, Mykel Williams. 3, Mike Green, who you guys don't have, which is interesting to me. 2, James Pearce, and then 1, Abdul Carter. Obviously, I think our 2 and 1 is going to be basically like the consensus for everyone throughout this draft process. Anyways, Hammer, you got a number 5 that is a little bit out there, so I'll let you go first. Landon Jackson. What made you put him in your list?
Yeah, it's a weird pick, but you know what? I put the film on, and to me, he looked like a little baby Max Crosby. Just the way he's kind of built, the length, it really sticks out. You know, I think we all know Landon Jackson from that funny clip of high school when he went to that camp and he was hitting the bags like Jenks when he played football. And
yes, washed up.
You know, but you know what? In college, he went to work. He put on 40 pounds, really beefed up. I like him a lot. I like his skill set. He put on a show at the combine. He had a 9.88 RS score. So he put on a show there. He's got good tape, decent production in college. I think for him, he's still got to just learn how to work with his body because he's so big and he's got new muscle, and he's just got to learn how to use it. He's got to fix his anchoring and his kind of balance. But man, I like the upside a lot out of him. And yeah, I got my number 5 for me. I think he's a day 2 guy though. I get, there's a couple guys ahead of him, like a Mike Green probably, and a couple other guys, but I like him a lot. I like the potential.
Yeah, he is a big potential guy. I think he's going to be, like you said, second rounder. Maybe he falls to third. I don't think that happens, but I think he's a second rounder, just kind of based on potential alone, like you said.
I could see him falling at the end of that first, though. I've seen a lot of recent buzz that maybe Buffalo or someone like that at the end of the first. I mean, we talked about it before we hopped on. Like, this is a deep edge class, and there's a lot of teams that. I mean, just in the NFL in general, right? You can never have too many edge rushers. So I could see him even falling late in the first.
And after that combine too, that's only gonna, spike up your draft stock. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Ty, you have Jalon Walker at your number 5. It's a guy that I think Hammer and I left off mainly because we see him as like that hybrid kind of being able to do multiple things. So he's not a true edge or defensive end. So what made you put him at your 5?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting pick for me, and I thought about leaving him off, and he might honestly even be on my linebackers list. What really got it for me was his ability to play on the run. I think he, when you see him on the edge, like he surfs so well down the line, he stays so steady and even. Like he's never running upfield and kind of out of control. He's a smaller guy, 6'1", 243, but when he flies in there, I mean, he's like high motor. He's got crazy closing speed. To get the quarterback or running back in the run game. And he really holds his own despite being a smaller guy. I think I saw him a lot, thumping against guards and really just holding his ground, especially in the run game, and just causing, clogs in the run game. So, and I think as a pass rusher, he still has a little bit of growing to do. I think part of being the tweener is like you're not an elite edge rusher or an elite off-ball linebacker. I think for me, he'd be a really good like 4-3 linebacker. Sometimes you put him on the edge, you just play with him around, but he's got a great quick first step, and he plays with good pad level. But he's a smaller guy. I think he needs like to just develop a deeper arsenal of pass rush moves. And as an off-ball linebacker, I think what made me at least lean towards him on edge is he's kind of new to the off-ball stuff. He needs some development there. And I think again, he has really good closing speed, but just in the coverage aspect of being an off-ball linebacker, especially in man coverage, I think he gets beats every now and then. I don't think he has the best technique. I have him at 5 strictly and mostly because I think the upside there as the tweener, as the hybrid, will be attractive for a lot of teams. I see him as like a top 20 guy. When I was kind of thinking about team fits, it's like who needs a guy that could play both of those positions? I was thinking 49ers. I know the Falcons were really high on him at the combine. I'm thinking the Bucks too. I think he could be like a Devin White or Drake Greenlaw replacement or something like that, but with the added caveat that he can play on the edge, and be a real rucker in the run game. So, it's he'll probably be on my linebackers list too, because the inside linebackers, especially, he's a pretty good athlete. It's not as deep of a class, and I know the edge class is so deep, but he's just a freak athlete. I mean, 4 or 5, and on tape, he just looks like he plays even faster. So.
Yeah, he had basically like a split almost 50-50 he was 311 box snaps, 249 on the line. So like an NFL team could see that and kind of put him wherever they want. And like you said, I think the Falcons and Bucks would be 2 really good fits, which would suck for the Saints possibly, but I think those would be good fits for him. My 5 is your number 4, Ty. Hammer, you left him off the list, is Shemar Stewart, a guy that had a ridiculous combine for his size. He's 6'5", 267 pounds. And so I'll go with the pros first. I think he has a really great motor. You see every single play, he's always close to the ball carrier every single time. I think he has a good job. He does a good job of setting the edge for a lot of the good run plays, things like that. And he's versatile. He's able to make plays. I think you can kind of put him wherever. PFF says that he played 117 snaps over the tackle in addition to the snaps he played outside the tackle. So I think that's something a lot of NFL teams would value as well, in addition to how athletic he was and the performance he had at the combine. The cons for him, to me, are his production, right? He had really, really poor production. I believe he had like 3.5 sacks in 3 years at Texas A&M. And that's just not where you want to be at an NFL level. Teams want to see more production. So I think that could hurt his draft stock a little bit. And when I'm watching his film, I also feel like he doesn't have a lot of plan going into his some of his pass rushes. It just seems like he kind of runs into them and hopes to either get by them by bending or using a little bit of like hand usage a little bit to swim or whatever to rip. But it just seems like he kind of runs into them and prays for the best at times. So that's kind of why I have him at number 5. But I think the athleticism, the versatility puts him up there a little bit higher. Ty, what do you have him at 4? On your list?
When I look at the strengths for him, a lot of my strengths are because of his pure athleticism and just the effort that he plays with, right? Like he has really great, burst off the ball, really good power. He's got long arms, so he's really in control a lot of times. He fights like hell, like just blow shit up. Against Arkansas, they had a read up, and he just blew up the mesh point and blew up the quarterback and the running back. So he is a high intensity, high effort, diving for tackles, flying to the ball. When he shoots the gap inside in the run game, or even, kind of makes an inside move in the pass rush, he shoots it hard, and he has really good balance because he's a big, strong guy. And like you said, right, I mean, you could line him up at the 3 tech because he's so big, he's so versatile. But, on the flip side, right, not a lot of production. Like you said, it kind of does seem like a lot of times he goes in there without a real plan. You kind of saw that against Armand Membu. Membu kind of just got the best of him and folded him and made him do a split at one point against Mizzou. So I think, he's just got to continue to develop a deeper bag of tools in the pass rush game in order for him to be one of those elite edge rushers. But because of the raw athleticism, I have him possibly all the way up by the Panthers, but because of the lack of production, I could see him, all the way at the end of the first round. I think he is probably a top 20 guy. I could see the Saints taking him. He seems like a New Orleans Saints type of guy. Cam Jordan can, kind of mentor him. I could see him with the Bengals, right? They could use an edge rusher, and a freak like him would be great on that defense. So, he could really fall anywhere, but I think he's a first round guy for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think he's a first rounder. Hammer, I know you left him off your list. Was it sort of that lack of production or something else that kept him off your list?
Yeah, for me, he's at number 6, and just because of that lack of production. As a Packer fan, just PTSD. Done drafting guys that don't have a lot of production and just freaks at the combine. So it's probably on my end a little bit more than it's on his end for not making my list. But
yeah. No, I get it.
I'm rooting for him. Just I don't know. I'm all right. You don't need get picked before 23.
All right. I get it. So at number 4, you have someone different than both of us on your list again. You got Donovan Ezeiruaku. Why do you got him at number 4? What are your pros, cons for him?
Yeah, Donovan Ezeiruaku from Boston College. A little undersized, 6'2", 248. RES scores 8.28, so pretty good there. Really good production this past season at Boston College. 16.5 sacks. He's got really good bend. Finds ways to get around that tackle and right to the quarterback. He's got diversity of pass rush moves, really active hands. He's got a really explosive first step, sets the edge really well in the run game. He's got long arms, he's power, and he plays with a lot of aggressiveness. But like I said, undersized, and the tackling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of drops to his knees. He doesn't really run his feet, which I don't like. So that's a negative. But I have him up here because I think he could be a fit for the Packers. Boston College guy, Jeff Hafley connection. He's also a Jersey guy, so that's probably why he's 4 too. Jersey's number 1.
He won the biases coming through. I said him with the biases.
He won the Ted Hendricks Award, so that's nation's top D end. I think he's got a lot of tools to be a really impactful player in this league. They said he killed it in the interviews at the combine, so good character. He ran the fastest 3 cones, so there's a lot of tools. I think he's still got to develop, but he's got a ways to go. But I like him a lot.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think he's in that 6 to 7 range for me. I think the drop off after 5 even is pretty, or after 4. I would say after 4 for me is pretty steep, and I think all the guys are kind of interchangeable in that 5 to 8 range. I would say they're going to be alternating for a lot of different people. Ty, you're number 3, my number 4, Mykel Williams. What do you think about him? He's a kind of a guy that a lot of people feel his size is really great, and he could be a prototypical type of D end in the league.
Yeah, he's a big dude, 6'5", 260, and he ran really well in the 40 for his size, 4.65. I know a lot of guys were like, yo, why do you run so slow? But 4.65 for a guy that big is very, very impressive. When you turn on the tape from last year, I think it's tough because he was playing through a bum leg all year long, but he still showed some flashes of dominance against Texas. I think if you flip on the tape from the year before, he's very impressive. Obviously, he was a freshman All-American when he came out. So I think he's a really good powered guy. He fights like hell in the double teams. I think he walks dudes back consistently with his bull rush. But even though he's a bigger guy, he's got really good elite change of direction. He's got great pursuit angles in the run game and when redirecting on quarterbacks and options, stuff like that. For me, he's a sound edge rusher. He's not like the freakiest athlete, right? Like Shemar or even Jalon, but he's just a sound football player. I think he's kind of falling down guys' boards too because he was banged up last year, and because now is the time of the season where we see guys really, boom up because of a good combine or good interviews or whatever. But he's just one of those guys just going to get the shit done. And like I said, a really, really strong pass rusher, especially with a bull rush. My cons for him, he's just not the fastest off the ball, right? A lot of these guys on my list, they're quick off the ball. They're really quick, twitchy guys on that first step. And he doesn't have like the deepest arsenal of moves either, right? Like I think he's really good with his hands, like chopping guys. I think he's really good as a strong, bull rush guy. But I think the next step for him is kind of developing that Euro step, developing that spin move, kind of just making that, arsenal of moves even deeper. I have him, maybe in the teens range. Like I think Shemar could end up above him, like I said, because of the hype, the athlete that he is. But I just think as a true pass rusher, like Falcons, Cardinals, Bengals in that range, like would be where I see him just making a difference. Even though the Cardinals went out and got Sweat and re-signed Baron Browning, I think Mykel, especially, I think that's where the Cardinals could be a spot for him, because I think Mykel is a better edge rusher than Baron Browning is. I think you put him opposite of Josh Sweat, and I think they'll complement each other really well. So, I just think Mykel above Shemar and Jalon because he's more of a sound pass rusher.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think for Mykel, in my opinion, I think like you said, I really like his length, his size. I think he has a good change of direction, especially for his size as well. He seems to be pretty athletic, and he has a good agility. And I think for him, his play in the run game is really important. And I think that's what a lot of teams are going to see. Like the Saints, for example, they always pick bigger defensive ends that can set the edge, things like that. And I think he has a really good ability to do that. I think for him, like you said, he just needs to improve his pass rush arsenal. I think that's really, once he can do that and start to excel at that, I think he'll really be a pretty dominant edge in the NFL. So I'm excited to see if he's able to do that in the future. Hamid, do you have anything to add for Mykel?
Nah, what a name. You guys said it. Yeah, you got to love the body, not to be weird. I think he's the number 3 edge taken off the board. He's just got a really cool skill set compared to other guys. This guy's, like Ty said, is more of a powerful guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to win with power. He's good against the run. And, a lot of other guys that we're going to talk about, the more speed guys, a little tinier, and they don't hold up, as well against the run. So different skill set.
And I think what sets him apart, like being the power guy, is like I think he can easily develop some of the Euro moves and stuff like that, because he is an elite athlete for his size, right? Like you can't teach the raw power that he has,
and the
control with the raw power, right? Like some of these guys that we've looked at, Shemar Stewart, I think Walter Nolan, like some of these other guys, like they are powerful, but they're not always under control. He is always under control of his body and like diagnosing things well, like while he's, in the middle of a move. So, I just think he is a sound pass rusher, but he just doesn't excel in a lot of areas.
Yeah. I can see that. My number 3, someone that you guys didn't include on your list, is Mike Green from Marshall. He had 17 sacks this past season with 32 hurries. And for me, I think the big thing that drew me to him was his Senior Bowl performance. I love when guys go out to the Senior Bowl and have really good performances, because those are the guys that rise up a lot of NFL teams' drafts boards. I think he has a deep bag in his pass rush. I think he has a lot of different moves that he can utilize. I think he's really strong in his shock and shedding, and his production. Like we talk about production for some of these guys being the reason why they're going to fall on draft boards, and I think that's the reason why he's going to rise on some draft boards. I mean, 17 sacks is nothing to scoff at. So he's has a little bit less hurries than some of these guys. So he's 32 hurries, 17 sacks. So it means he's getting those hurries, and he's actually taking the quarterback down most of the time. He seems to be a very smart player. I think his IQ in both the pass and run game is something that could be really impactful to these NFL teams. For cons, I say I have that he's not as lengthy as some others. His arm's a little bit shorter, and it feels like he depends on the bull rush too much at times when he is a quicker guy. So he could be using more of a speed rush style, and he's relying on the bull rush too much, which won't necessarily work against some of these NFL tackles. So what do you guys think about him? I know you guys left him off your list completely. I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I think he'd be my 6 for me. I think he was a candidate to be 5 over Jalon if I decided I wasn't going to put him at edge. I think, like you said, he does have that deep arsenal of moves. I think he's really quick off the ball, good athlete. Watching him do a spin move against Ohio State, we kind of dusted their right tackle. So I think he is a really good edge rusher. I just have some concerns about, obviously, the talent level that you're playing against when you're out of school like Marshall. He's not the biggest guy either. and just the off the field stuff, right? Like you do want the guy to be there. He did transfer out of Virginia because some of that stuff, the allegations were denied, but it is a concern when you look at these guys on your draft board. If we're talking like Jalon's just strictly a linebacker, he's my 5, right? I think the production is obviously there. Like if you just look away from the fact that he's at Marshall, 17 sacks is nothing to scoff at, right? And he's a speed rusher. He's very, very quick in space. And he's, like I said, like for a lot of these guys, it's like, how quick are you off the ball? He is very, very quick off the ball. So, for me, he's right at 6.
Hammer, what about you?
What about Ezeiruaku's 16.5 sacks, huh? It's nothing to scoff at either. I had to use scoff because you guys used it. So we all used it 3 times in a row. I don't know. You guys kept on saying it. Made me laugh. That was weird. Yeah, we talked about Mike Green before we, got on this, and I agree with a lot of what Ty said. So my question to Jenks, having him at 3, would be, how high do you think he goes?
I think he could go as high as 9 to the Saints. I think he could.
Really?
The Saints could. I wouldn't necessarily love that pick because I think that's a little bit high for him. But I think he can go as high as 9. But I think I think he's probably in that 25 to 32 range in the first round. I think that's kind of more of the range he should be in. But I think he has a really wide range of where he could end up falling in the draft. So good question. I don't mind that at all. Number 2. So 2 and 1, we had the same guys. So I'll give a general overview for James Pearce. I mean, this is a guy 6'5", 245, right? So he's going to be skinnier than some of these guys, a little bit taller than some of the edges, but he's pretty skinny for his size. I know my buddy who was at the combine, he said that when James Pearce went up to run the 40, it looked like a linebacker was running out there among all the defensive ends. So he looks really, really skinny for his size, but you put on his tape and you will not be disappointed. He looks like a freak, and in the pass game and the run game, he's always making plays. He seems to have a motor that is never, ever going to die. So I love his play in all facets of the game. And I think he is definitely a top 12 pick in the draft. I think that's kind of where I have him. I think the biggest con for him is his size, and he also has some character issues as well, allegedly, according to some reporters out there. So I think 2 is the right spot for him on this list. Ty, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I think obviously, he has some room to grow in the weight category, but he is a bigger guy. And obviously when you look at those guys that are a little bit smaller, you want them to run well. He ran really well. I think he's just, for me, the hands and the feet, they're all there, right? Like all the things that you want from him. He's quick off the ball. I think watching his film, when you look at some of his moves, like his Euro step is an elite. He sets it up so well where he's outside and in, and he's just beating guys really, really quick. I think his hands are, great. I think he's always like fighting, chopping guys' hands down. Even though he's not the longest guy, he still creates a lot of extension and can walk guys back despite, again, not being a big guy, right? I think part of it is his explosion off the ball that helps him walk some guys back. But part of it is just like, he is a strong dude. I think he does a good job surfing down the line, right? We want to see that a lot in the run game. Can you surf down the line and not work yourself too far upfield? And then even as a you said he kind of looked like a linebacker. He did show some of the ability to drop into space. He had a pick 6 against Iowa in the bowl game, dropping into space. He could be a spot dropper that, you bring an inside guy like Jalon Walker, right, and you can drop him out and trust him and to not be a liability. Some of the cons, I think he could use a little bit more bend. While he's a really good athlete, I don't think, his hips, he could be a little bit more flexy there. And sometimes, I mentioned in the pass rush game, in the run game, he stays, tight to the line. I think sometimes in the pass rush game, he works himself a little bit too far upfield. And then obviously, he needs to put on about 20 pounds. If you get him at 6'5", 265, kind of like Mykel, I think he's probably faster than Mykel at that weight. Yep. And a more, a deeper bag to him with his pass rush stuff. And I mean, 110 QB pressures in college that's a lot of pressures. So I have him probably like a top 15 guy. I could see him in Carolina. 49ers need an edge rusher. Could see him in Dallas. So he's just a freak athlete to me. And I think he, put on some weight and he's going to be an elite edge rusher in the NFL.
Hammer, what do you think?
Yeah, I love James Pearce. I think we got him second on the list for a reason. I think he's got the second highest potential. He's a freak. He's explosive, like Ty said. There's plays where he could just Euro step around the tackle, and then he can also just put his two hands into his chest and drive him back right into the quarterback. So, my biggest knock on him is just the weight. You know, that hurts him in the run defense and, just strength. And then the off the field concerns, I don't really know. I mean, apparently it's because he was speeding and then he had a suspended license and this and that. So I don't know. Maybe he's just a bad driver. I don't know if it's character
Something about
concerns,
the FCC.
Yeah, I don't know. So I like him a lot. I think, whoever's drafting him is getting a, NFL ready pass rusher who can contribute, the first year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think he is probably he definitively is like the second highest potential in this draft class. So I'm excited to see what he does. Number 1, we got Abdul Carter, the bona fide top 5. He probably would be a number 1 pick if it weren't for the Titans, who probably are going to go Travis Hunter or Cam Ward. I think that's kind of where they go.
Yeah.
But I think he could easily be a top 3 pick any other season. He probably could be. He probably will be a top 3 pick this year. I see him maybe going to 4. Kind of the Patriots think that's like the match made in heaven. But Hammer is a Penn State fan here. Ty, you a Penn State fan too? I know you're from. Okay. All right, Hammer, you're the Penn. Wait, who are you a fan of?
USC. Fight on, baby.
That's so random. Okay, we'll unpack that later. But anyways, Hammer, as the Penn State fan,
I don't want to let Ty.
Okay.
I'm too biased. Let Ty.
All right, Ty, you go.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think he is the blue chip prospect in this class. He's the number 1 guy. Like, I think he's above Travis. He's above everyone else. Like, he is the guy in most classes. He'd be taken at 1 like Myles Garrett. I think he does a really, first of all, to put this into perspective, right, this guy was an off-ball linebacker when he came into college. So his ability to diagnose and recognize things is at a different level than all the other dudes in this class. He's an insane athlete, as we know, high motor, bigger dude, 6'3", 250. I think the way that he sets up his pass rush moves, he's slow into it and then he quicks. Like, the change of speed is so elite that he can walk a guy down and then just, burst and now he's beat you. He's got an insane bend. You turn on the film in those moments when he goes slow and he starts so high in his stance and then he kind of walks into it. He bends so low around those corners and you could just see the true like hit flex that he has to get around some of these tackles. He's a really strong guy. His bull rush, he's walking dudes back. He gets up underneath them and kind of lifts them off the ground almost. And that's what you want to see when you're bull rushing, right? You don't want to just walk guys back. You want to throw their asses in the turf. So he can line up inside on obvious passing downs. We saw a lot of him kind of lining up over the center, almost like what Penn State and Dallas do with Micah Parsons, right? Line him up inside. Myles Garrett too, right? Line him up inside. You can kind of, move him around in the loop game. He could be a spy that's, when he's a spy, it's insane. Like, he just reads, and then takes off and, like, kills guys, makes them fumble, rips the ball out. I just think when you put him on the inside, too, he's a problem for some of the bigger guys because they can't handle his speed, like, especially on obvious passing downs, right? A guard's going to take maybe a deeper pass set. He burns them every single time. And turn on the tape against Illinois, he was cooking those guards. He's got a really good spin move. Like, this guy just has a deep, deep arsenal of moves. He's got it all: the spin, the chop, the euro, the bull rush. Like, he's got it all. And then on top of it, because he was an off-ball linebacker, he can drop into coverage. He reminds me so much of Micah coming out of college. Like, he's got the number. He looks like him. He dresses like him. We went to the same school, whatever. He is like a Micah, right? Like, Micah coming out, they were like, we could play him like a Jalon Walker, except for he's an elite pass rusher and an elite off-ball linebacker. The only things for me, like, sometimes he can get washed down because I think he does play a little bit high at times, right? And I think that's part of his game that makes him so great in the pass rush game. But I think in the run game, he needs to play a little bit lower, stop exposing so much of that chest because the guys lock up on him. But, like, if that's your biggest weakness, you can work that out of him, right? And like I said, elite skills in the pass rush game as an off-ball linebacker in the coverage game. For me, like if the Titans and the Browns would take him at 1 and 2, I doubt the Giants take him at 3 because they have edge rushers. I mean, like I said, you can never have enough edge rushers. So if they took him, he'd obviously be a freak for them. But I think he's a match made in heaven for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, opposite of Harold Landry and with Barmore and Milton Williams on the inside. That pass rush would be disgusting. So I would love to see him in New England. But yeah, what a freak.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's basically where he's at. I think he's just kind of a bona fide number 1 pick in any other draft class. So I'm excited to see what he does. And Hammer, what do you got? Do you have
my bold prediction though is he is going number 1.
Okay,
he's going number 1.
I like it. I think I could see the Titans doing that. But if that happens, what do you think the Titans do at quarterback? They just roll with Levis.
That's my problem. They haven't gone after Russ or someone like that. They let Rudolph walk. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe you go Milrow top of the second round, but
that's true. You could.
Yeah, I think they go with Levis, but yeah, that's my prediction. I think Carter's going to go number 1.
I don't mind.
But if not, I think we all agree. I'd love to see him in New England.
Yeah, I think New England makes too much. If somehow New England passes on him, that would be insane.
Dude, even Cleveland. If he ends up in Cleveland, imagine him and Myles Garrett. I mean, dude, on 3rd and 15, right? Line them both up over the guards. Have some crazy stunt. I mean, no interior offensive lineman is going to be able to keep up with the speed and power of Garrett and Carter together.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think when we were talking about the Browns, if Myles Garrett stayed, because I think when that episode aired, we didn't know yet. We were like, if he stays, he could mentor Abdul Carter, and so obviously that could find itself becoming reality.
Let's just talk drafts, right? Let's say you're the Titans or Browns GM. Like, to me, I'm like, I don't know why you want to pick a quarterback. Like, your team's not built. You're not a quarterback away. Your team's not built for him to succeed. Or, you know what I mean? A rookie quarterback. Like, to me, I'm just like, why wouldn't you just take the best player in the draft? Like, I don't get, like.
Yeah, I mean, we're low on the Titans and Browns, but you got to think about the Browns, right? They're like a season, 2 years ago, they were like 11-6 or something like that. And the Titans, they have the weapons on offense and, kind of built up the offensive line a little bit. They went, I don't believe in Dan Moore, but they spent money there. I think the Titans are in the best position to take one because Cam, I think he is a good quarterback. Shedeur, I'm not as high on. Like, I think the Browns maybe would be better suited to take an Abdul or Travis. But I think if you're the Titans, I'm pretty high on Cam. We'll get into the quarterbacks in a bit, but, I think he is, a clear one in this class, right? Like, I know for a while there, people were like, Shedeur and Cam. Like, it's always been Cam for me. So, if I'm Tennessee, I'm still taking Cam.
So you think Tennessee's in a good spot for a QB?
I think they're in a fine enough spot.
Who do they have at weapons? They have Ridley and then who?
Ridley, they have it. Well, they got Tony Pollard. He's a pretty good back. Tajay Spears. You want to have good backs. Akwanku is a pretty good tight end. Mm-hmm. They have someone else at receiver that I'm blanking on, but
they got Treylon Burks, but he stinks.
No, I wasn't thinking Burks. I mean, I know they lost Boyd, but and they built up the offensive line a little bit too. So
yeah. No, I think the Titans see him. I see where you're going with the question, and I think that is kind of the right mindset. Like, that's kind of where I'm at too. I think if you're a team where you're struggling so much, there's no point in taking a quarterback. Maybe you get
don't get it, but,
a vet.
I don't know.
The thing is too, if you're at 1 or 2 there, like if you're at 1 especially, the Titans, like, I'd trade out if you're not taking Cam. The Giants will give you a lot of.
Yeah, I think you should.
Give you a lot of capital to trade.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Cam Ward is the pick for them. I do think I think the Titans more than the Browns. I think the Browns could move on. Like, I don't think the Browns need a quarterback. If they didn't take one and they took like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, like, I think that would make a little bit more sense to me. But I think Cam Ward to the Titans just makes a lot of sense because, like Ty said, I think he is a better quarterback. He could turn a team around more quickly. Like, I mean, the Commanders, for instance, like, we didn't think the Commanders were going to, just because they got a quarterback, be good. But Jaden Daniels did turn the team around pretty well. And obviously Terry McLaurin had a good season. Like, they had a lot of players actually having good seasons, which we didn't see before.
Right,
but they had, I mean, like, I know we didn't expect them to be like that good, but they did have a big offseason last year. Like, they did sign a lot of guys, I don't think we thought that they would put it all together. Like, they made a lot of moves to put
but
that team around Jaden Daniels. I don't think
Tennessee,
Tennessee or Cleveland has done that. Like, that's
Tennessee
I
did
don't know.
that last year to try to give Levis some options. That's why they got Pollard and Ridley and,
Yeah.
took a tackle and stuff like that. It's not the best, but Callahan's also a really good offensive coach that I could see, he was with Burrow, but I could see him, having a lot of success with Cam.
Yeah, I like Cam a lot. I'd be interested to see if they did move on and didn't trade out, if they would take Abdul Carter. But I think, yeah, if they're not taking a quarterback, I think they should definitely trade it to the Giants. But we could see if the Giants go get Rodgers or Wilson, whatever they do here in a little bit. So moving on from the draft topics real quick, we'll do like a quick few minute discussion of some of the top free agency discussions. Like, I mean, you guys could break down your teams, kind of what happened for you guys. The Saints, I know, made a few moves, but I talked about that in a little different episode. You guys, though, Hammer is a little bit disappointed. Ty is a little bit less disappointed. He's pretty happy. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on your teams and their decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously elated, right? I think we took a lot of shots on guys that, have a little bit of injury history, but are all pro type of players. Denver's been really healthy the last 2 seasons since Sean Payton brought in new, athletic training and strength staff. So, that's you're knocking on wood, right? Hoping that Greenlaw and Hufanga can be healthy because they're coming from a team that everyone on the team is also hurt. So it's just like questions about the strength staff over there. But when Hufanga was playing, right, year 2, he was an all-pro guy. You put him next to Brandon Jones. Our weakness was PJ Locke there for part of the season on the secondary. So he'd be a dog. And then Greenlaw, right? We have not had a linebacker that can cover anyone. When you saw, I think I've seen a lot of the breakdown of the two of them in the game back against the Rams. Greenlaw's first game back, and then Hufanga was back in that game. Like, it looked like they didn't miss a step, right? And I know Greenlaw missed the next, was pulled out of the next game with some calf soreness, but it was also end of the season. Like, I think they didn't want to risk anything there. So both of them freak additions to already an elite defense. And then getting Evan Ingram, right? Denver hasn't had a tight end in quite some time. Since Julius Thomas, that could be an 800-yard receiver. Sean obviously loves a guy like that. He'll be a joker for us. I'm, constantly waiting for the Twitter report to see if we get Cooper Kupp too. But, I liked what we did with those 3 guys and re-signing, some of the guys like DJ Jones and Justin Cernod for some depth there too. So I think we knocked it out of the park. I think if we don't make any moves, I think we're in a really good position to just take best available in the draft or go, receiver, running back, tight end in the first 3 rounds and just kind of get, another guy to go along with Ingram and then some more dogs, weapons for Bo Nix. So I love what we did so far. I think this defense, if healthy, is going to be, probably the best defense in the NFL and, maybe rivaling that no-fly zone from a couple years back.
Okay. Yeah, very, very optimistic. I don't mind that at all. I think you guys have made all the moves that you necessarily needed to make. Like, these are all the moves that you wanted in the regular before the offseason, and now they kind of come to fruition. Hammer, you're cheesing over here. I don't know if it's like deflecting the pain or what's going on, but I want to hear your thoughts. Kind of, we went into the offseason. I know we did our free agents prediction episode. And we thought Goot would kind of make a splash like he did last. And here's the thing too. I think last season kind of impacted your thoughts in this season because last season you guys made moves literally right as free agency started for a couple of really stud players, and that hasn't happened. But I think that's just kind of like impacted this a little bit. So what are your thoughts on so far?
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm listening to Ty talk. It's like a little kid on Christmas. And I get it. I was there last year. We got McKinney, we got Jacobs, and I felt on top of the world. And, going in this offseason, looking forward to Goot doing the same thing, something like that. I went in wanting a pass rusher and a receiver. Those were the 2 biggest needs. When you come away paying that guy $77 million, that's Aaron F. and Banks for those not watching on YouTube. Does that look like $77 million? I don't know. I don't think so.
we don't attack looks here, Hammer.
Look, I'm not saying look. Whatever. Besides the point. I don't know. I don't see the vision. Goot, I'm blind right now. You gotta help me. I don't I don't know. I don't know what the move is at receiver, at pass rusher. I don't know. I don't think the draft can solve both. I'm very curious to see what happens the rest of the offseason. Cooper Kupp, maybe, but I don't know. Is it the player you need? But at the same time, it's kind of the only player out there. Yeah, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I'm here for the ride, and we'll see. But Aaron Banks, look, he's not a bad player. I think we overpaid. I think from the outside perspective, they're like, fans like you guys are like Aaron Banks, like, all right, that's a weird signing. Overpay this and that. And we say the same thing, but Aaron Banks opens up a lot for us on the offensive line, like moving Elton Jenkins to center and you put Banks at left guard and you really have a really good offensive line. So he definitely opens up a lot of things there. We also signed Nate Hobbs at corner. He's a good player. He could play slot and outside. He's a good tackler. He's good in the run game. But there's some other corners out there that, are studs. And you came away with I don't even know how to say this. It's like at school lunch, and it's like, your mom made you this turkey sandwich that I've had all week, but this kid walks in, with freaking Chick-fil-A. And that's kind of what Nate Hobbs is like, watching DJ Reed go to the Lions and Byron Murphy goes to the Vikings, returns to the Vikings, and that's what it was. So sorry for my little rants, a little ticked off. Probably going to watch some Aaron Banks highlights before I go to bed tonight for the 5th time. And I don't know, maybe Josh Jacobs could run for 2,000. I don't know. But yeah.
All right, Ham. I'm sorry you're in a doom and gloom phase, but it'll get better. It'll get better. You could be the Saints. Come on, you could be the Saints. You think about that sometimes. Perspective is important. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know you were about to say something while Hammer was talking. I don't know. I think I definitely think the Broncos have done the best so far. Saints in between our 3 teams. I mean, Broncos, Saints, Packers.
The Saints have the most confusing offseason. I mean, like going all in on some of these guys. I mean, they were good moves. It's just like, where the hell is this money coming from?
It's just a money laundering scheme. Don't worry about it.
It's coming from the church. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah, no, it is.
Big dog Banks spiking the football.
Okay, enough about Aaron Banks, dude. All right, move on. Move on from this guy. But the Saints, we've made money, and I will say this: we're out of the red for next season as of right now.
It's impressive.
So I don't know how that works, but
what do you guys think was like the best free agent signing outside of your guys' teams, like the best fit so far this season? And not
Nate Hobbs signing in Green Bay.
Not Nate Hobbs.
All right, I'll stop. Honestly, for me, best free agent signing, I'm going to go with Davante Adams. I'm going to go with my boy Tay. I called it. I think it's a big upgrade over Cooper Kupp. They're the same age. I actually read that Davante's 6 months older, but Davante hasn't really lost. I mean, he's lost a step, but not like Kupp, with the injuries. But I think, man, Puka and Davante Adams. Woo!
Yeah,
I like the Rams.
It's a dirty duo there.
Like the Rams.
I like Davante, but what about Najee Harris to the Chargers? What about him? No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't say that's a top move, but I do think that is a really, really underrated move that the Chargers made. I think he could be a really, really big back. And for all the fantasy players out there, he really improved his draft stock with that in the fantasy leagues. I mean, listen,
the guy has been, I think he was behind Henry, Jacobs, and Saquon in rushing yards over the last 4 years. So, the guy's at least consistent, if anything. He's going to a team that runs the ball a lot better than the Pittsburgh Steelers, too. For me, and I know Jenks is going to hate this, I loved Darnold to Seattle. I liked what they did, getting rid of Geno. He's an older guy. They come in, they replace him with a younger guy. They have Clint Kubiak, so he's very familiar with the system. Obviously, Kubiak was his OC in San Fran, runs the same thing as Kevin O'Connell. You lose DK and Tyler Lockett, but it's like Lockett was an older guy making a lot of money, kind of falling off. And DK was a headache. You kind of got a headache out of there, right? So you go in, you keep your backs, you made some moves on defense, and you get Sam Darnold, you get MVS, MVS could be a fine 3 for me, honestly. Like, he is a 3. You got JSN. I think JSN's an ascending 1 in this league. He was like rivaling DK for the guy there. I think you give him JSN. JSN could really boost, this year, become a top 15 guy, a top 10 fantasy player, something like that. And then in the first, go out, or the second, right? You got 2 second-round picks. Go take a Luther Burden. Go take an Emeka Ibuka. Some of these guys that are going to be there, trade up back into the first, right? You got a lot of capital from trading DK and Geno away. You could really build the offense up around Sam Darnold. I'm a Darnold guy. I like him. Back 2 years ago, I was willing to take him in Denver before I knew that we were going to get Bo Nix. I think he's in a position to succeed there with a familiar system, a really good running back, a really good receiver, and a lot of capital to build up around it.
They also got a new he got a new receiver 1 over there too. MVS is in the building, boys. He made it to Seattle.
He's the MVP magnet. He's an MVP magnet.
In the Clint Kubiak system, which he was in the Saints, and he scored like 7 touchdowns in I don't even know, like 8 games, something like that.
Take the top off, MVS. Keep both in the NFL.
Him and JSN could be a dangerous.
I'm really curious about JSN though, man. Like, he could become, I know I'm never going to compare him to Jettis, but he could start talking about in that top 5, top 10 conversation. I mean, there was a point in college where, remember that Rose Bowl game where he really popped off and guys were talking about him as a dog, and he slipped on draft day, and he fell right into Seattle's hands. And, last year it was just, you watched him rise week after week after week to the point where we were talking about him during the season as the guy. I remember we had the conversation, Jenks, about, if you're going in the fourth quarter, who are you going to, DK or JSN? I said, go to JSN.
Yep.
You can trust him. He's a dog. So I like what Darnold has over there.
Yeah, he carried Hammer and I in fantasy to like the 2nd or 3rd seed. Like, we were bottom of the bottom, and he started turning it on. He turned our team around. So,
fun fact: Aaron Banks has played in the Super Bowl. I don't think Evan Ingram is.
Okay, all right, Hammer, getting you to talk about something else. Aaron Rodgers is still a free agent here, so the teams looking like he could possibly still go to are most likely the Giants or the Steelers, which I think would be a match made in heaven for him. What are your guys' thoughts? Where do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up? And then where do you think Russell Wilson ends up in terms of that as well?
Hammer, I'll let you take this first.
Yeah, I think he should go to the Steelers. I think the holdup is, I think he loves playing in New York. I think he loves the area. He said it on McAfee's show. These past 2 years have been a struggle with the injury, and then, this was a down year, but he's like, this has been 2 of the best years of my life. I think he really enjoys the atmosphere. So I think that's the holdup, along with, I think if he knows he goes to the Giants, I think he's got more of a voice, you know what I mean, with decisions made and this and that. You go to Pittsburgh, you got Mike Tomlin there, so it's a little bit different, I think that's the holdup. I think the Steelers are the better team for him, better situation. And I think that's where he's going to end up. And then I think Russell Wilson is going to end up with the Giants.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, he would end up with the Giants too? You said Aaron. Oh, you think Aaron ends up in Pittsburgh?
I think Aaron's going to end up with the Steelers. But I think the holdup is him,
Yeah, I think Aaron ends up in New York. I think he puts him in a position to take a guy like Travis Hunter. And if he has weapons like Hunter and Malik Neighbors on offense, that's really attractive, and it's less of a headache than having to deal with George Pickens and DK. I think he would value Daboll's, offensive prowess, and, he's obviously been a head coach of the year. I think Tomlin's a little bit of a tougher guy, and he's never gelled well with, look at Mike McCarthy, right? They didn't really gel well there at the end. So I think I would have Rodgers in New York, and mainly because the Mason Rudolph thing that happened, was it today or yesterday? I think it was interesting because they already have Skylar Thompson on their roster as a backup, and they have a lot of familiarity with Rudolph. They gave him a 2-year deal. I could see them taking a flyer on like a Jackson Dart at 20. I think that was in my last mock draft. Reports just came out that he's one of the prospects that they're looking into. So I think if they would just rock with Rudolph and go with Dart, I think, Rodgers ends up in New York for like a 2-year deal. And then I could see Russ in Cleveland. I think, they got Kenny Pickett. It gives them also the ability to pass up on Shedeur Sanders. So if we're looking at Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, 1, 2, 3 there, I think that puts the Giants and the Browns in a better position to, kind of punt on quarterback, try to be a little bit competitive with these older vets, and maybe take a guy in the second round.
Yeah, I don't mind. I think that would be a good move for the Browns, especially with like Russ kind of just coming out, and you can probably get him for cheap too. But I do think that the Steelers are the perfect spot for Aaron Rodgers. I really do think he should wisen up. I mean, I get that you like New York City, like you said, Hammer. I think that is a hang up for him, but I think the Steelers, you get to throw the ball to George Pickens and DK Metcalf, two guys you can throw the ball up to, and pretty much the hope that they come down that without having to worry about it being picked off or things like that. And that happened with Mykel Williams and in New York before him and Devontae started getting that connection going. I will say that I think the Steelers, they have enough cap space as of right now. I think they should go get Cooper Kupp and then get Aaron Rodgers, and they could absolutely go all in. They could go all in for a year or two. They could. I don't. You guys are shaking your heads, but like they have the cap space for it.
And I don't paying Rodgers and Cup.
They have 46 mil.
DK?
They have 46 mil.
Is that before the DK stuff?
I don't know. I just searched it up on over the cap.
I don't know if Spotrac.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's accurate. But I think
too. I mean,
there definitely could be. It could be off. But I think Aaron Rodgers would be willing to take a pay cut if they told him, "Hey, we'll go get Cup." They go get Cup now somehow, and then they go to Rodgers. Hey, we got this receiver room. Let's go get a Super Bowl together, and he could do that. I think it's more likely than Giants contending for a Super Bowl, and then I think it's more likely than like the Browns or someone else if a wild card team tried to throw their hat in the ring. But I think the Steelers are a good fit for him, even if they don't get Cup. I just think that receiving room, the defense, things like that, would be a really, really solid team up for him. So that's where I got. That's all I got for you guys today. I think I don't have any more questions off the top of my head. Does anyone have any closing arguments or closing statements, anything like that for the free agency?
Just hoping I can go to bed, put my pillow on my head on my pillow tonight, and have sweet dreams of Bo Nix throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp.
What more do you need? You got Evan Ingram, you got Cortland Sutton. Why need Kupp too?
Because we think elite teams, Super Bowl teams have enough weapons.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have sweet dreams tonight of Trey Hendrickson in the green and gold.
Yeah, I mean,
him and Rashawn Gary combined in the backfield for a sack or two.
What would you give up for him?
I think right now the talk's a second, but I think it could be a third. Easy. I think it could just be a third. I don't know.
And then,
maybe a late round swap or something like that.
And then you'd have to pay him too, right? That's kind of where we're at. Is you'd have to.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay him at least 30 mil. Myles Garrett just got 40, so it might be 35, something like that.
But I think Crosby got 35. So
if I'm good though, I'd do it. But you know what? Also, let me just say this quick. This was a weird free agency class. It wasn't like last year. There wasn't a lot of the guys got signed before they even hit free agency. It was a weird class. So to have a lot of money like Green Bay did, they have their needs, but like there weren't a lot of guys that kind of fit, fit the job description. I don't know. It's just a weird class. So I give that to Goop, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out in the next. I'd say probably the next week or two. I think that's when all of these big moves will finally finish happening. Because I mean, like the fullbacks and other weird positions are starting to already get signed, which usually doesn't happen that usually doesn't happen for a little while. I feel like it's a little surprising that it's happening so soon. A lot of deals happen in that the first day was a little bit more hectic than I thought it was going to be, but I enjoyed it. So we'll see how the rest of the free agency class plays out. And next week we got, I think, what position group? Yeah, running backs next week, something like that, I think. So that'll be an exciting class to break down. Obviously, Genty's on top at 1 there, but we'll see you guys next week. Make sure to check us. Yeah,
gotta keep them guessing, Jenks. That's how you get the subs up, man. Keep them guessing.
Johnson.
Check out next week if Ashton Genty's number 1. Yeah,
is he even top 5? I don't know.
Does he get drafted? What? I don't know.
Listen,
character concerns.
Yeah. Ty, that is a possibility. I mean, I don't know. Because he's a dog. He's a dog. But we'll get into that next week. Make sure to check us out on social media at Jenks Island and wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys think about the lists and then what you guys think about free agency so far. And we'll see you guys next week.